Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Stacy. This is really bright, which is awesome because I can't see any of you. My name's Kane, and I'm the co-founder of Enstitute. And rather than come pitch you on what we do, I have 7 of my amazing fellows who are here who can tell you everything about what we do. So I'm going to talk really high level about this idea of higher education and sort of my personal story. So I started an alternative university at 24 years old. A lot of people, when they look at me, say, what the hell were you doing starting a university at 24? You're the dude with the chest tattoo who dropped out of college 3 times, who has his name spelled wrongly on his back in Arabic. Give me a couple drinks and I'll tell you that story tonight. But the fact was, I started Institute because I saw a massive problem in the higher education system, and because Institute was really my life. And when I think about what took me from a young boy in rural Michigan to founding an organization that's gotten national recognition and been on the front page of the business section of the New York Times and is now going to be serving hundreds of students around the country, I actually think about ladies. And I know this is really interesting because when you see me, I obviously don't think about ladies a lot. I mean, I think about ladies as in I love them, I want to support them, but I don't think about ladies. But when I think about what sort of takes me from where I started and where I am now, I think about really 3 important ladies in my life, and I actually want to talk about the education that they gave me and the serendipity they created for me, which has led me here today. The first one is you can't start out talking about ladies unless you talk about your mama. And for this talk, I'm going to refer to my mom as Alice. People, when they have to meet my mom, say, well, now we understand where the hell you came from. She's 5'8", blonde hair, pink nails and pink lipstick at all times, and grows marijuana professionally for the state of Michigan. So that's after 30 years of hard work at General Motors. She's a woman who raised 5 boys. When I think about my mom and I think about sort of what she's given me, I think about sort of 2 really main themes. The first one is my mom always pushed me in my education and in my life to be different, right? And that manifested in a lot of ways. The first way is when I was 3 years old, she let me walk around the house wearing pink pantyhose and her white patent leather purse, and let me sleep in them because they were my favorite outfit. She let me wear them to the store. She let me wear them when I went out to play. And when my father would be like, what the hell is going on? She'd be like, listen, he knows how to coordinate like pink and white. He's happy, let him do it. And so my mom has always been an amazing woman and encouraging me in everything I do to be me. And she's also really taken the time, and when I think about when she encourages me to do that, what she's done and really forcing me when I think about my education and think about my life, is really to think about value generation while sort of thinking about what I take from this world. So if you see on my chest, I have a tattoo that says a little more, a little less. I have a mother who worked 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. every night. She was up and gone before we woke up, but she had 5 boys. And what she did every morning is when we woke up to a letter from our mom. Each one of us had a love note every morning that said, hey Kane, good morning, I'm so proud of you. Don't forget you have soccer practice, your lunch is in the fridge, great job on your test scores. And she signed every single note, a little more, a little less, Mom. And what she was saying is, she had this statement that said, if you do a little more and you want a little less, there's nothing in this world that can't make you happy. And that was really a defining moment in my life and a defining moment in making me sort of go forward. And it was actually that made me fall in love with service and volunteer work. And it was that love of volunteer work that actually took me from Michigan to New York, where I spent a gap year. Didn't spend 2 months, spent 10 months in the most unsafe neighborhoods of New York City, tutoring and mentoring kids in the South Bronx and East Harlem. And that was my first forte into what it felt and what it was like to be a teacher and to be an educator. And I was 18 years old, and I was working with kids who came from households that were less than ideal, who thought it was awesome to walk down the hallway and light the bulletin board on fire, literally poof, right? You'd have the principal run out with a fire extinguisher. Interesting. And who once asked me if I had African-American heritage because I have a big nose. But I have to say, that year of my life working in schools really solidified not just my love for education, and my love for New York, but it actually was my first forte into what we call at Institute learning by doing. And this idea of education does not always have to happen in the classroom, and it can in fact happen in the real world. And so when I was done with that gap year and sort of gave my parents a heart attack and said, hey, I'm not moving back to Michigan, I'm actually gonna go to school in New York, I enrolled in college in New York City and found myself really, really unhappy. And it was the first time in my life where I wasn't excelling at something that I was sort of putting effort towards. I was sort of the golden child in high school, class president, salutatorian, newspaper editor, like, did way too much shit. But I came to college and I started failing. And so in the span of 2.5 years, I dropped out of college 3 times. And it was for my family, for a mother and a stepfather who had worked their entire lives, put their 5 kids through college, who had 2 brothers who were finishing their doctorates from Ivy League schools. And my mother was just looking at me and saying, what is wrong with you? Like, what is going on? What has changed in you? And it wasn't that I didn't have the motivation or didn't have the skills. It was the fact that I had sort of discovered like what I really enjoyed doing and how I learned best. So the last time I dropped out, or the second to last time I dropped out of school, the summer before it, and this sort of brings you to the next lady in my life. Her name's Jackie. Who here, actually let me see, who here has ever heard of Coyote Ugly? Yeah. So I worked for the founders of that bar. And when I tell you that it is not half as crazy in the movie as it is in real life, I am being completely honest. So sophomore year of college, I am waiting tables at a restaurant in the East Village, interning at the mayor's office, hating my internship, loving waiting tables because I made a crap load of money and it was a lot of fun to talk to people. And in walks this woman, again, 5'8", I deal with a lot of tall women, 5'8", 4-inch wedges, 40 carats of diamonds, and she sits down in my section, and she sits down and she orders for me, and her and I start talking, and she says, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm in school and I hate school. And she's like, well, what do you do other than that? I'm like, I'm doing this internship and I hate this internship. And she's like, you really don't like your life? And I'm like, yeah, I know. And she's like, all right, well, sit down. And I'm like, sit down, I'm working. She's like, oh, no, it's fine, I own this place. And I'm like, okay. And so I sit down, and it turns out that Jackie is a self-made multimillionaire. She, along with another woman, owned Coyote Ugly, which has a movie made after it, and she's turned what was a dance career, right? She was a choreographer, into a massively successful bar that has 30 chains around the world, has a reality TV show, sells clothes at Walmart, because people who like Coyote Ugly like Walmart, has a whiskey brand. And in one night, Jackie says to me, we have a 3-hour conversation, she asks me a bunch of questions. She asked me if I know who makes her shoes. I said, yes, I know who makes her shoes. They're Giuseppe Zanotti. She's like, okay, you can work for me. And she goes, this is what's going to happen. You're going to quit your internship. You're going to quit your job. And tomorrow afternoon, you're going to call me at 3 o'clock and you're going to meet me somewhere. And what that turned into was my very first apprenticeship. And I spent 2 years of my life following Jackie around the world. And I went from the kid who hated learning, right, and who hated sitting in marketing class, to the kid who was sitting in a boardroom discussing a $15 million marketing strategy and was firing off questions, right? What the hell's a CPM? What does this mean? How do we do this? How do I design this? How do I learn more? Can I build a website? Can I do this? And it was an amazing experience for me to see, like, wait, you're not lazy, you want to learn, you just don't want to learn in the classroom. So I spent 2 years of my life following Jackie around the world, and I really got to experience everything, right? She executive produces movies, right? I spent time interviewing, because that stopped at 8:39, so I have no idea how long I have. I'll just keep going. She executive produces movies, right? So she produces movies that have people like Joey Lawrence in them, right? So I find myself in LA at 21 years old, sitting in a cafe for a half an hour, keeping Joey Lawrence company while he's auditioning for Jackie. By the way, he's like 5'4". He's super tiny. So she produces movies. She's investors in companies that you've heard of that you're probably wearing. And Jackie changed my life because she helped me realize that it was okay to learn differently. And she completely accelerated my life when it came to a career. I left Jackie, I apprenticed under a guy at a tech startup, and his name's Sahal, who's also very memorable, but we're talking about ladies, not dudes today. And it was at that company where I was a creative director that I met the third lady I want to talk about, who's my co-founder, Shyla, who's sitting right here. Unfortunately, you have to listen to me and not Shyla tonight. She's much better at everything. But what's interesting about Shyla is when I first met her, I did not like her. She's the antithesis of me. She is Harvard Business School grad. She worked at Microsoft. She did M&A. She is straight-laced, buttoned up. At least on the outside when you first meet her, she can get a little funky too. But when I first met her, I was intimidated by her. One, because I was like, she's my peer. She was hired as my equal at this company, so I'm like, how do I keep up with this girl? And the second thing is she was the first woman to come into our office, and as the gay man in the office, I was like, bitch, please get off my territory. But after a year of working together, Shyla and I developed an amazing friendship, right? And we spent a year working together, laughing together, crying together, drinking a lot together. And I realized that even though she was different than me, she was the best business partner I could ever think of, right? We often call ourselves yin and yang and left brain, right brain, right? Like I am the colorful like paint palette that's like exploding and running in circles and just like this thing. And Shyla's the Excel wizard, right? And the operations person and the person who literally is like, Kane, sit the fuck down so he can get some stuff done. And at the same time, is the reason Institute moves forward and not in circles. What's been interesting of working with someone who's so different than me is that she's taught me so much, right? Every day I'm forced to work with someone who's really, really good at everything I'm really, really bad at. And it's been an amazing educational journey for me, even in my job when I'm trying to redefine higher education, to sit there every day and just learn from her, right? I couldn't open up Excel when I met Shyla. I'm still really bad at it, but at least I like can understand what's going on, right? Like, ask me what a P&L was when ask me what a P&L was, had no idea. Now I do, right? Now I will never be who Shyla is, and I'll never be as good as her. But I've learned from her and I've grown from her, and it's been an amazing experience in that. So when I was thinking about this talk, I was thinking about these ladies who have really given me this educational journey and have all taught me so much. And last week I was in Dublin because we just launched a program there, and I was sitting at a bar, surprise, surprise, and in walks this really big dude. He's like 6'3", 350 pounds, 65 years old, and he walks up to the bar, and he walks up right when I'm ordering a glass of champagne. Now, I don't drink beer. I absolutely hate it. Champagne's my favorite thing in the world. And he hears me order champagne, and he goes, "You cannot order a champagne in a pub in Ireland." And I turn to him, and I'm like, "Who the hell are you? I can do whatever the hell I want." But we start talking, and it turns out he's a dean at Trinity, which is the Harvard of Ireland. And I'm like, "Oh, that's really interesting. I was just meeting with one of your entrepreneurship people. We're thinking about partnering with you guys." And he goes, "Oh, really? Well, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I run this alternative university for young people." And he goes, "You can't be a day over 30. You can't run a university." And for a second there, I'm like, "Dude, I'm 26. Don't age me. Screw you." And then when I realized that, and then he came back, he goes, "What makes you think that you can do that?" And I didn't have an answer for him. And it was really bothered me that he sort of caught me. And I sort of like fumbled and was like, "Well, it works, and who are you? Screw yourself, like I'm leaving." And it's really, and this talk actually was an amazing experience for me because it made me realize like why I can do that. I can do that because I have amazing people who support me. I have had amazing women and men who have taught me. And I have amazing students who every day realize that while I know a lot of things, I don't know everything, and life's an ongoing process. So I guess sort of my big takeaway is respect the ladies who take care of you, respect anyone who takes care of you. And if a big fat dude in an Irish bar tells you you can't do something, just give him the finger and walk away.